Web design and AI, are they friends or are they foes? Find out if robots are coming for your job in this video in the future of web design. We'll explore the current state of AI in web design and whether it can fully replace human designers. But as always, I'm going to pass the question over to you to get your feedback. Let me know in the comments section down below what you think. Is AI going to replace us as web designers? Yes, no, maybe? Let me have your thoughts down below. So now you can't have not heard of tools like ChatGPT or Midjourney or DALL-E. These kinds of tools allow us to create various different types of content, whether it's written content, structural content, design content, visual mockups, all manner of different things. Now at this point in time, personally, I don't think that these kinds of tools like Midjourney can totally replace a designer. However, it is worth exploring what these can do to open up the potential for design inspiration and also various different ways in which you can take tools like ChatGPT and use those to do things like structure content or site layouts. And if you don't have a client that currently has all the content, instead of using that boring lorem ipsum text, you could use this to create more engaging content that's applicable to the market that you're actually designing for. Let me just show you a couple of examples of both Midjourney and taking a look at ChatGPT. Now this is currently totally free to use, so you can sign up and you can test this out for yourself. I've been incredibly impressed by how useful this tool actually is for a massive range of different use cases. So let's just take that simple example of using this to kind of give us a starting point for a client's website and maybe in a specific industry and some content to put in there so we can hand that off to them to get their feedback on our initial designs and avoid that boring lorem ipsum junk. So this is ChatGPT. Let's do something really simple and say, create a structure for an accountant's website. We'll say we're working with an accountant firm. Let's go ahead and let that run through. Now this is all in real time. This is going to go ahead now and create that structure for us. And the thing I really like about a tool like ChatGPT is how we can take what it gives us and we can expand upon that in a multitude of different ways. So you can see now it's starting to give us this suggested structure for our accountant's website, breaking things down to the home page, the About Us page, and so on. So after a few moments, you can see even with a really simple prompt like create a structure for an accountant's website, this has given us a breakdown of 6 different sections it recommends that we include. And it also breaks those down to a little bit more detail. Now obviously this is just a starting point, it's not specific, it's very generic. But if you wanted to use this to, like I say, get started, or you just wanted to kind of create something for practice, if you're a new designer and you're looking for a little bit of inspiration, this can be really useful. But it gets so much easier. Keeping within the same topic of this accountant's website, let's just ask it to write a hero section and a call to action. Now you'll notice I'm not telling it to do this on an accountant's website or on this website or any other prompt. This is kind of staying inside the same conversation. And this is what tools like ChatGPT bring to the table. They are now more conversational than tools you may have used in the past where you have to give it very specific content. So we can use this to kind of just get the ball rolling. Again, after a few moments, this now spits out the hero title and the call to action and even breaks down what the kind of call to action and the hero section, all this kind of stuff actually relates to. So it's giving you more information. Now let's just say, I like the basic idea of that hero title, but I want to get some more suggestions. Let's just say, just give me 5 more examples of that hero title. So now once you've created that content in a tool like ChatGPT and you want to create some kind of design, you can hop over to a tool like Figma and you can use that content, and then when you submit this kind of thing to a client, at least it has some more relevance to the work that they actually do. So I think in its own right, this is incredibly useful, but there's so much more you can do with ChatGPT. You can expand upon pretty much everything you want inside you. I would highly encourage you to check it out. Do I think it's going to steal your job right now? No. But I think it's going to make your life a lot easier in so many different ways. Check out ChatGPT and some of the content that's available. Now another tool you may want to take a look at is Midjourney. Now you can get started with this for free, and I think it's somewhere around about 25 kind of like examples of what you want to create, and then you kind of have to go on to a subscription model to pay for it. However, I still think this is something that's quite useful to play around with if you're looking for inspiration that maybe bucks the trend to what you used to see on things like Dribble and places like that. So you can use a tool like Midjourney and you can insert some prompts, and this is just a couple of examples of the kinds of things I've been playing about with very, very briefly today. There's so much more you can do with this and so many great videos on how you can really use this to fine-tune and hone your skills. But for example, let's say you were working with an artist and you wanted something just a little bit more interesting. Then this is something that I kind of came up with through Midjourney earlier on today. And as you can see, it's kind of nice to see a more artistic design. This is not something that I would have taken a look at creating myself. I would never have thought anything like this up. However, this can spark the inspiration to get started creating something that's outside of your normal wheelhouse that may be incredibly enticing to an end user or a client. Now, obviously, this would just be a starting point and you'd have to find images and things yourself. But again, you could use Midjourney to create some of this kind of artwork for you and then combine those using a tool like Photoshop, Affinity Photo, or anything like that to create something a lot more unique. Now, moving over to something a little bit more sort of structured, a little bit more professional, a little less artistic, then we've got something like this, which is a sort of, you could use this as a consultancy website or whatever you kind of want. And again, this isn't the end point. This is still very rough around the edges. But what it does do is it gives you that visual inspiration to create something that you may not have done or thought of yourself. So I would experiment with a tool like Midjourney to see what kinds of things you can do. And if we jump back out of this, you can see when I was working with the art one, this gave me 4 different examples. I expanded upon the first one, but this third one already looks absolutely amazing. And I think expanding upon something like this could really open up some creative possibilities you wouldn't think of. And if you're just looking for inspiration and you don't want to open up an account and start spending money on something like this, then you can take a look at the community feed, which you can access, from my understanding, totally free of charge. And I've just done a search for landing page. And as you can see, this gives me some really great looking inspiration. Let's say I was working on a graphic novel website or a gaming website or something. This one looks absolutely fantastic and a good starting point. And if I am using a tool like Midjourney, underneath this actually shows you what prompts were used to create this specific artwork. So you could take those and then you could use that as a starting point for yours. Now, you're not going to get the same as this because each time you run it, it's going to give you different results. But you could use this as a starting point, tweak it, fine-tune it, finesse it, and get something totally original for yourself. You could also use a tool like Midjourney to create just images you want to use on a website that don't currently exist and you can't find anywhere. But as you can see, looking through these, there's some amazing looking end results. You know, some of these are very highly detailed, some of them are cartoon, some of them are just sort of, as you can see if we open this up, kind of would be great for a real estate site or an architect's website where you just want a visual mock-up of something that relates to the end product or the end service. And you may just be using this to prototype. These are awesome tools to help you along the journey. But like I say, are they going to replace you or I as a designer? Absolutely not at this point in time. We have to feed it the right information. We have to choose the ones that we think are going to be the best end result. And then we have to use those and modify them and fine tune them and tweak them to get close to what we actually want. Now, moving on, there are some tools that I think you probably could use as they are right now. So for example, if we take a look at Luma, which is lumalabs.ai, all the links for this will be down in the description below. What this does, and this is pretty cool, you can take a bunch of photographs of an object and it will create a 3D model of that object. Now, I haven't tried this myself. I've seen some videos of it and it's pretty amazing what can be done with it. You can simply come in, for example, like this lamp, which is not particularly exciting. But as you can see, this gives a 3D photographic sort of representation of it. These are all the photographs that were taken. And then we can use the option and that now gives us the 3D model of that lamp based upon those images. So imagine you want a 3D model of an object that you want to sell on an e-commerce site, but you don't have the time to do all those kind of fancy 3D types of things. Then a tool like this could be incredibly useful and get you exactly what you want, or close enough to make it fully usable. Let's take another example. As you can see, we've got this kind of roller skating statue or rollerblading statue. Let's switch it over. And we now have the 3D model of that, which we can fully interact with. You can see we can move around it. We can see all the textures. Everything looks pretty much exactly the same as it did in the photographs, including the lighting. And as we move it around, it looks like a 3D model. But we haven't had to do any 3D modeling. You've just literally taken a bunch of photos and combined those using a tool like Luma AI. Pretty cool. Now, sticking with images and image generation and so on, Astria is another tool that I think is worth having a little look into. This allows you to kind of tailor make or customize the AI to get it closer to what you actually want. So, for example, we take a look at one of the examples. You've got this car. Well, you can see that's taken from a photograph of the car, which is kind of what's been put in, and then it creates these images based upon that representative model of the car, or images you apply to it. And as you can see, we've now got various different artist representations of that vehicle taken from that image and placed into various different kinds of scenarios. Again, another object is, you can see we've got this hat image. This is the image that's being used to start off with, and then using a tool like Astria, you can see now we have multiple images underneath that are now incorporating that image of the hat, or a 3D representation of that, into the images. So if you have an image of someone and you want to put a specific item on them, but you don't have the ability to do that, this may be a way of doing it and being very specific. And again, we can come down to things like concepts. You can see, again, we've got this old-time vehicle, and underneath we've now got a range of different concept images based upon that photograph that's been trained using this tool. It's pretty cool. And you can also see you can add in multiple images of yourself and then get this to spit out a range of different artist interpretations of you based upon the images that you've inserted. Now, this is the kind of thing that a lot of people are using in sort of tools that you can get to create avatars with your phone and so on. And this is a kind of very similar type of setup. So again, check out Astria, links in the description below. It's an interesting AI tool that you could utilize in a range of different ways. Now, in this middle section, I'm going to drop in Durable, which is a total kind of web design AI building tool. This should help allay the fears you may have about being taken over by the AI algorithms. Let's go ahead and take a look. Now, this is just going to generate a site based upon a couple of questions, and if you want to pay, you can edit the content. But this, it's interesting to see. Let's go ahead and generate our website. So what type of business are you building? Let's just say that we are an accountant. What's the name of your business? We're going to be called Accu Accounting. And now that's going to go ahead, choose a color palette and start building this out based upon those two very simple questions about what we are, what we do, etc. Now you can see this is creating the hero section, the call to action, the services and so on. This will build those various different things up for you. So after a few minutes, you can see this has now completed everything for us. So we now have a website that is all set up using that very basic information. And if we want to sign up and customize this, we could do that. We can run ahead and restyle this. You can see we can change the color scheme. So if you've got specific branding, we've got different typography we want to use. We can choose that from here. We can say we want to keep things how our buttons and so on. We'll restyle the website, and that's now going to tweak what it's created for us. And you can see now we have a slightly different iteration of that with the changes we've made. But that's very, very basic. If you need those extra features, you'd have to kind of pay for this. But as you can see, it's not particularly great. It's okay starting point. It looks very amateur, but this is a starting point, and I think a lot of this AI is going to get better. And I think when we can combine these various different tools together, or if we manually combine them right now, we can still get an awful lot done for the prototyping, design stages, right the way up to a finished design. Now, let's just say as part of your web design business, you have to deal with video and you suck at working with video, or you just don't have the tools to do it. You may want to take a look at Runway. This allows you to edit video and create video content in a simplified, online, browser-based way of working. And that's pretty useful, but it also has a lot of extra features inside here. There's an awful lot you can do. You can try this for free. I haven't tried it myself, but it looks interesting. I only kind of came across this today. But as you can see, if we come down background removal, you simply select a couple of points, it'll select the subject, and the background is removed. If you want to paint out objects, object removal, you can do that. Motion tracking, again, all using AI built into this browser-based video editing tool. It's pretty impressive what you can do. And like I say, if you don't have the need for expensive software or subscriptions to software, and you want to do just some simple things like cleaning up your audio, removing backgrounds, removing objects you don't need, this is really interesting to take a look at. So in conclusion, while AI may play a larger role in web design in the future, it is unlikely to completely replace human web designers. Because web designers, we should be staying up to date on the latest AI technologies and consider how they can be used to enhance the workflow, rather than being replaced by these tools. So that's my thoughts on the whole AI replacing us as web designers, but I'll pass the question over to you. What do you think? Are you testing these tools out? Do you have a concern that you're going to replace in the next couple of years? Or do you just think these are gimmicky and they're not going to kind of have any real impact on what you do? Let me know in the comment section down below. As always, my name is Paul C. This is WPTuts, and until next time, take care.